Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to GTO Wizard Trainer, part 11 here. Today we're doing standard 9-hand configuration versus a Limp. As we load in here. Okay, so here we are on the big blind with Queen 9 suited, facing a Limp from the small blind. I reckon this will be a check. So from the big blind, we are incentivized to check a lot of hands, only really raise at a very small frequency, unless we are blind versus blind, where we will be in position, where we will raise on some occasions. Jack 5 deuce board, so wide versus wide configuration. I don't really see much value in betting at the moment. We don't really connect with this board at anything. We don't really have any backdoor equity. We do have some showdown value with our queen high, which can be good at some frequency here. But still, once again, with the 6, I just don't really see any value in betting at the moment. We can't really narrow down their range at all. They can't really narrow down our range at all. So I believe this is just one that checks all the way through. They hit trips at the end. But yeah, so just purely because we just don't, like, on the flop, we don't really have any corrections. Yeah, on the flop, we don't really have any backdoor equity or front door equity. It does say that we can have a little stab 11% of the time to try and take it down. But yeah, and then checking it down is just the standard play all the way, pretty much. So pretty much just a wide versus wide. Exact same situation. Here we are with the King 6. I reckon this is another just check candidate. Too weak to be raising here. When they stab for over half pot, I reckon this is a fold. So yeah, standard fold. So they're saying, so raise at that. So pretty much all options on the table here. If we go over here to, so we can only really see the small blinds range here. Maybe if we go here we are. So yeah, pretty much because we're in the big blind, and we don't really have to put any extra money in, our range is just so wide, pretty much just getting rid of all value is all that we're getting rid of, that we would be opening with, and pretty much we're just left with all this wide stuff just here, probably even more because of, I think it took out some certain hands that we wouldn't have considering that we didn't stab. So yeah, just real wide versus wide configurations here. As we can see here on the left-hand side, this is what we're looking at in terms of the small blinds range. They even have aces here at some frequency as well. 9-8, these are the type of hands you want to be playing when you're in position. Once again, I reckon this is just a standard check. When they go over half pot, we don't really have any backdoor equity. We've got we've got a gut shot, but that's, well, correction, no, we've got a runner open ender. So we either need a Jack Queen or a 6-7, something like that. So I reckon this is standard fold, just no real equity for us to play with. 7-5 offsuit, once again, just a standard check back. This time we have middle pair on a semi-connected dynamic flop. So I reckon this will be a stab, and they fold. So yeah, once again, so good stab, but pretty much all three options on the table there. Checks also there at some point as well, maybe to try and do some bluff and trying to bluff catch. Next hand we got the Brunson versus a Limp from the small blind. I believe all the hands will be the exact same type of situation as this. I'm guessing obviously GTO doesn't incentivize limping at all, so these are pretty much a Limp from the small blinds, the only point that they ever encourage limping. Because even from the button, there would be only really raising, no real calls at all, and it's only really a small blind that's just going to call the big blind bet. So it makes plenty of sense that we're pretty much all these are blind versus blind. This one we've got a pair on a dry static board. When they call our C-bet, well, not even C-bet there, when they call our stab, we're ranging them on Flush draw, we're ranging them on ace high, king high. That would probably continue, thinking that we're just trying to take it down. Flush comes in, so we're going to check this one back, and then it becomes a one-liner. Once it becomes a one-liner and we don't have a spade, that's going to be a snap fold. So looking at flop, so they say don't stab with our pair of twos. They're saying just check it back. Fair enough with this wide versus wide. They're saying shouldn't have checked when the flush comes in either, so I'm guessing their theory is we can try to represent the flush, thinking that they don't have a flush here a lot of the times. Evidently they did have they had the ace high that we were talking about. I believe it would probably show here. So yeah, a lot of ace high, pocket pairs, queen, king highs. Obviously queens are there as well, but pretty much only real king highs. Ace highs that have some showdown value would be calling the stab. So I'm guessing they're saying that they have far more of those than they do flushes. Continuing to tell the story that we have a strong hand here would pay off, is I guess what they're trying to say. They go for a little bit of fin value, and then yeah, just standard snap fold from us with our twos when it becomes a one-liner and we don't have a spade. Especially when the ranges are so wide that they could have any spade possible. Is this the difficulty of blind versus blind? Can't really narrow down the range at all unless there's some 3-bets involved. Queen 7, standard check back. We flop top pair on a very dry static board. I could hear checking here just to try to do some bluff, mostly because not a lot of cards here will be bad for us. Perhaps a jack or a 9 would put out a one-liner there that we can't really rule out. I'm guessing I'd much rather just stab here, try to narrow down what type of range we're up against when we have some value, but I guess that once again, I do sorry. I do hear the check, try to allow them to catch up, try to get them to bluff, and then just kind of catch that with this such a wide versus wide, and we're blocking their value in terms of their queen X. Next hand we got jack 5, once again, standard check. We flop middle pair. They do a stab of just over half pot. No reason to raise them, just call. We then get top 2, no. Yeah, so we get 2 pair. Small blind tanking. There you go once again. Was that about 2/3 pot again, give or take? Once again, no real reason to scare them off here, in my opinion. If they got a king, we can get some more money at the end, but I'm guessing... oh, fuck. So yeah, my theory would be in terms of... because wide versus wide, when they go again here, maybe they do have a king. Probably not king jack. King jack would have... oh, king jack might be limping at some point at a decent frequency, I believe, from the small blind. If we have a look. So yeah, so we're pretty much going... so yeah, they do have king jack here. So yeah, we're pretty much ranging them on they've got some form of draw, gut shot, or they've got some form of pair, or they got king X, jack X we're ahead of, king X we're ahead of. So I can kind of hear both options in terms of try to put in money while we're ahead, or a call. I'm going to elect to put in some more money, so we can either go a pot size bet, or we can go just over pot. Go about a pot size. When they call, we definitely believe they have a king here. When we believe they have a king, at minimum, we don't believe they could have 2 pair, other than maybe some king 3, king 5. But yeah, we're definitely ranging them on a king that wouldn't want to fold. So when we believe they have a king, we should go for strong value, thinking that they won't be able to fold the king. So I'm going to go about pot size. And I do get call from king. So if we look here, so they're saying, yeah, so they're saying even a higher sizing, which I'm not surprised about. We're good. We're currently good, so I definitely understand. We're definitely good at the moment, sorry, and we do believe that they have a king, so I definitely understand putting in more money before anything changes. Can if it's their king, makes them puts an ace out there or something that might scare away or make us lose value. And then when it comes over to, and they're saying a check back, which I don't understand a check back at all. Check back makes 0 sense to me. Because I believe King Jack, like, yeah, sure, they do have King Jack still. Okay, but, okay, they even have kings and aces. Or ace king. Well, ace king we're betting. But I believe they just come up here with the exact hand that they did have, which is just King X, which most likely won't be able to fold, especially when they're calling a pot-sized bet on the turn that they won't be able to fold to another pot-sized bet. So I don't understand a check back here at all, because you're only really going to be checking back when you believe that you're only going to get called by better, and I think we would 100% be able to get called by worse here, in the form of a king. I reckon just a king would call a pot-sized bet, a decent frequency, and I don't reckon we're only going to get called here by, straights, ace 10, and I don't reckon we're only going to get called by, because the only other value here is sets or 2 pair, and I reckon they have far more just King X here a lot of the time than set or 2 pair, and majority of the sets, like, I understand that it says they apparently can still have kings here, but I don't reckon they can have kings. They can't have jacks. 3's short some frequency, 5's short some frequency, and then maybe queens as well at some frequency. But then I don't reckon they can have king jack. They could have king 3, king 5, or maybe some queen jack as well, potentially, but if they do have that, I reckon that's too much of seeing monsters under the bed, in my opinion, and you should still try to go for a lot of value because you believe that they have a king, which I believe they did. And I believe they have far more of that kings than they would have anything else that would be able to value on us, which is the only real reason why you would ever check back on the river. You know, you only check back when you believe that you're just going to get value on, and you're only going to get called by better, so... here we are, next hand, so we limp with Queen Jack. Not good enough to, what's it called? Not good enough to 3-bet there. Then we face this, what's it called? Just over half pot sizing, or 2/3 pot sizing, on a Queen 10-4 disconnected dry static board. So we're going to call, keep in their bluffs. We now have top 2. It's even more non-vulnerable. We want them to bluff at it. We want to keep their range nice and wide. But we definitely do want to start getting in some more money here. So when they do, once again, so this is the exact same type of line as we saw with the previous hand. Once again, we do have, right now we do have, we want to think basically the nuts, thinking that they don't have 10s, thinking that they can't have queens, thinking they can't have jacks, and we are blocking a lot of their other value in terms of their queen 10, jack 10. So when we are, what would it be? So we're blocking a lot of their value, which is the concern. So what else could they be doing this with? Potentially an over, well, no real over pairs either. But they could just be doing this with a naked queen. Ace queen off, for example, I think is still a limp from the small blind at some frequency. King queen off is also a limp at some frequency, I believe. So I'll take the same line that it said to take previously in terms of start to pile in money now while they're stabbing at it, while you know you're good, before any cards come that might scare off your value. They do call, they now go all in, another jack peels. Where now we obviously will call, but we're ranging them on probably some Jack X. So yeah, we're probably ranging them on some Jack X there. And when they shove all in there, and then, well, obviously we have the nuts as well, so standard snap call. So yeah, I can definitely understand the call on the turn here, trying to keep their range wide, trying to get them to bluff out at the end, because we are, like I said, we are blocking their value. There's not much there that we're not blocking that they can continue with. Like, we're blocking Queen 10, we're blocking Queen Jack, blocking sets, other two pairs. Pretty much all they have for value is King Queen and Ace Queen. So I guess when they have more bluffs than they do value, and you're blocking a lot of the other value that you are beating, like Jack 10 as well, I missed that one. Flush draw as well, semi-bluff, but they would probably not call that sizing either. So I do definitely understand the call here, considering that we are so invulnerable and that we're blocking so much of their value as well. And then, yes, obvious call here without a doubt. So yeah, they're saying check. I kind of understand that for the small blind as well. Check, try to get us to bluff at it, and then just kind of snap off everything or raise. It's probably a better way when you've got the effective nuts, knowing that you're blocking jacks, and then know that you also, queens are still there as well, but you know that there's only one combo of queens, considering you have a queen in your hand. Moving on to the next hand here. Small blind, we've got 9-8 offsuit, standard check, 10-6-3, we don't really have any backdoors, nothing to really improve on, so we're going to check this back. Now we have second pair. My thought process here, they probably don't have anything that's hit the flop, most likely, when they go about this 2/3 sizing. We're probably just going to call, try to keep in a lot of their bluffs, and then, okay, when they check here, so I don't really know. I think it might be a little bit too thin to go for value, but we are probably good a lot of the times here. But I'm just going to check this back, not thinking that thinking that it's a little bit too thin for value. Evidently they also, okay. So what are they saying? Okay, so yeah, they're saying we should have raised on the turn. That makes sense to me. Perfectly fine with that. Does make sense to raise on the turn, try to get in more money, believing that 8's good, thinking that they don't have a 10 because they probably would have stabbed at the 10. Thinking that it could be even a semi-bluff that they would want to continue, maybe they picked up a flush draw or something like that they might be able to want to continue with. And then the check back there is the approved play. Maybe go for some thin value at some frequency, but I believe this is one of those situations where we're only really going to get called by better. I think a worse 8 would probably fold a decent bit of the time. A 6 would probably fold, a 3 would probably fold, and that's kind of all we're beating. And then a worse 8, like I said, would probably fold as well. Maybe potentially with some thin value, might be able to get a worse 8 to call, but we're most likely getting value owned in a lot of situations. So a check back allows us to realize our equity, get to see showdown, rather than potentially just getting 3-bet there, and then taking off the better hand if we don't check back, and instead we stab at it at thinking that, and then we kind of got to fold to a lot of aggression there. For example, if we had to go 1.5, they 3-bet us to allow 11, 12 big blinds, we're probably going to be folding with just our 8, and we've folded the better hand. So that's kind of the theory there, I'm guessing. Next hand, when the big blind with ace queen offsuit, I believe this is a 3-bet. Well, correction, a raise. So they do a limp 3-bet. A limp 3-bet. So I know ace queen suited would be a call here, I believe. But I believe ace queen off versus the small blind would be a 4-bet. They jam and we have to fold. Okay. Oh, so they're saying call. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So what about the other ones? Okay, so they're saying call at 83%. So yeah, both options were on the table. And they're saying I should have raised to 5. So I don't really understand a 5x raise. Seems a little bit extreme. Because I think the majority of the time if we raise 5x, we're just mostly taking down the one big blind. Like maybe the theory is that if we raise 3 big blinds, we're incentivizing them more to 3-bet us than we are if we do the 5x raise, that they might be folding a lot more and we might just be able to take it down a lot more. So that doesn't make too much sense to me. I would much rather do the 3x, the big blind, more of a standard one. You're going to get called by some worse still here. And then if we have a look here, so what? So they're saying, so yeah, that's it. So yeah, they should even be folding to that a decent amount of time, which seems a little bit crazy. I would have thought that would always be like a 90-10 split with a 3-bet or a call. But yeah, so they 3-bet that. So yeah, it's either a call. So I thought it was a. Okay, well this isn't. Here we are, strategy. Okay. So I've done this the wrong way. So yeah, if we go to ace queen off, yeah. So okay, so yeah, ace queen suited will be a raise all the time. Ace queen off going to be more of a call. Same with a lot of our bluffs, pretty much. And then all of our value being raises makes sense. So yeah, there's versus the limp, so pretty much just playing blind versus blind. A lot of moves in this one, mostly because we're always seeing the flop due to being in the big blind. So yeah, 10 hands, 31 moves, GTO score of 72%. Playing blind versus blind is probably the most difficult due to the fact that you aren't able to narrow down their range at all, and it's a very wide range versus wide range configuration. You're not able to really narrow down the range as they play, mostly because they'll be in there due to the pot odds. Small blind will be in there with pretty much any hand. Big blind will just check with any hand because they don't have to put any extra money in at that point. But only 1 wrong move and 2 inaccuracy moves, inaccurate moves. But I believe my 2 inaccurate moves, which were was it the king fight? I thought, okay, wait, which one was or was it the queen jack? I thought it was the queen jack hand that I did the wrong thing. No, yeah, it was, yeah, so it was the jack 5 hand, because I put him on a king, which I would stand against, saying that's a good play up against what I believe to be a king, which I believe I'm good, and I believe a king's going to be calling me. So I reckon both of those inaccurate moves are still good moves to make when you put your opponent on a king. But I guess we need to be playing more range versus range rather than just kind of going, okay, I reckon they've got a king here, and I reckon we're beating a lot of their value, and I reckon we can still get called by a lot of their value, and we want to put in money while we believe we're good. But granted, they said to put even more money on the turn, and then put less money on the river, I believe. No, they said to check back on the river, didn't they? Which makes 0 sense to me. I don't think you should be ever checking back that river. And then, yeah, I'm pretty certain here. So, yeah, oh no, yeah, so they said, yeah, bigger sizing, which I would agree with as well. Be able to get more on the river as well, pretty much. And then you'll be able to isolate the King X that you're beating. So, yeah, I hope you guys learned something today. Yeah, so pretty much blind versus blind, hardest form of poker in my opinion, mostly just due to that wide versus wide range, not really being able to narrow down their range or build a more solid range of what you think they have, just due to the fact of small blind's going to be completing due to the pot odds with a lot of hands, a lot of garbage, a lot of value, just a lot of everything, and then big blind's going to be in there for free every single hand regardless of what they have. So it's just going to be a real wide versus wide. You're not going to be able to isolate anything. You're not going to be able to really tell, oh, they've got these 15 hands or something. They've got the entire range when it's blind versus blind. So it's extremely difficult play is what I'm getting at. Rather than being able to go, oh, they opened under the gun. They've got this range, fantastic. Oh, they've opened from the hijack. They've got this range. Be able to really narrow, and then you can go each straight and easily tick off hands as you go, and then it's far more manageable in the head. Whereas blind versus blind, you kind of just got to go. You almost treat it as if you're playing poker against someone that's never played poker before. That would only really put money in if they've got something good. I'm guessing mostly because it's so, and you can't really narrow anything else down. Is kind of how I think about it. You know, like when you play poker against someone that's never played poker before, you kind of only put money in when you've got a really good hand, because they don't really know what's going on. And they're not going to know when to fold, they're not going to know when to call, they're not going to know how good their hand is, they're not going to know your range, all that type of stuff. So that's kind of how I think about it. Just due to, like I said, you can't really narrow down their range at all, just due to how the play goes. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something. Play well, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys.